Say that.
Say his name.
Candyman.
You better not do that last one.
Candyman. You want to be a part of
Candyman 2021 is directed by Nia DaCosta and is written by Jordan Peele, Nia DaCosta, and Wynn Rosenfeld. It stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Teyana Paris, Coleman Domingo, Vanessa Williams, and Tony Todd. The movie is a sequel, direct sequel to the original Candyman that came back in the 90s. And this movie, I'm just going to say this right up front, okay? I like Candyman a lot. The first Candyman movie is so damn good. I love that it's an art house movie. Like, that is one thing I really like about this movie. Is that the first movie, you know, is based on a book by Clive Barker, a short story by Clive Barker. And it's essentially, is what that is. It's a short story by Clive Barker that Bernard Rose turned into this movie that's set in America. And it's about a black man who was suffered and burned alive. He was framed for a crime he didn't commit, and then, of course, heinous stuff happened to him, and then he became this urban legend. And I will say, I love that movie. I mean, it's terrifying, and it's so damn good. When I loved the trailers for this movie. Like, I love that. I've seen the trailer for the first Candyman, for the first trailer for this movie, so many times with Destiny's Child, Say My Name, Say My Name. And every time I would say, Say My Name, Say My Name. Then I'd be like, Candyman, Candyman. Like, I would just say stuff. I would just keep saying that. And then I didn't say it 5 times because I didn't want Tony Todd to murder me. But I was just saying that. I really loved the first Candyman. I even saw the sequels, which they're not good. The sequel is just a slasher movie. The first movie has a social message, but at the same time, it's a really good art house horror film. Like, if you go in to think it's a slasher movie, you're going to be sorely disappointed because Candyman's not really in the whole movie that much in the original movie. But he still has a looming presence over that movie. Versus this movie where he doesn't really come into the picture until, like, he's almost like out of the shadows. And one thing I really have with this, and I just want to say this up front, I love the social message in this movie. The social message in this movie is it's so good. They nailed the message. Like, this movie tells a better social message than the first movie told. And I will say this before, because I know a lot of people on YouTube have been getting online, just been getting bullied about, like, you know, oh, this is the perfect movie, and if you don't like this perfect movie, then there's something wrong with you. And there's a lot of people that refuse to review this movie, and I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, you know, a friend of mine refused to review the movie, and I'm like, I'm just going to say this up front. The movie is not a perfect movie, and it has a really great message. Now, is it a bad movie? Hell no. But is it like a perfect slasher movie? No. I will say this. It tells a really good social message that I really respect. And it tells a really strong message that, you know, you should really watch for yourself. Like, if there was no kills in this movie could possibly, I mean, it might, but it possibly could be, like, get nominated for an Academy Award, because, I mean, I know they really don't do slasher movies, but I'm saying this could. I mean, and it really isn't a slasher movie. It's more of an art house horror film, just like the first film. I will say this, as a social message, a social commentary on the world, this movie works. It tells this. But as a slasher film, it kind of doesn't do a good job of being a slasher film. Like, I will say this, there's not many kills in this movie. Like, you know, like, I was sitting there watching, and I'm like, I forget. Like, I was watching the movie, and I forgot it was a Candyman movie until they started talking about it. I go, oh, yeah, it's a Candyman movie. Because it's like, it just goes off in another direction to where they're just, like, talking, and just, like, it's about, like, an art. Like, you know, Yahya plays the baby at the end of the first Candyman, who's grown up now, and, of course, he is bit by a bee, and he starts having these, like, you know, like, I would say, they're not really hallucinations, kind of, like, about Candyman. And, like, he's slowly turning into, like, the next Candyman. And you find out that there was, like, Candyman's not really one person, but it's like a hive of Candyman who have injustices that have happened through. So that means anytime an injustice happens to a black man in America, that injustice kind of grows and you become this urban legend. When you die, you become this urban legend of the Candyman. And there's been, apparently in the credits, you see in the credits all these other black men that have died at the hands of wrongful deaths, and they become Candyman. And it's really strong. Like, it brought me to tears, almost, really, to where I was just like this is so sad. And some of this is true. Like, some of these legends have happened in real life, and it's so damn sad. And I respected that so much. And I'm not gonna lie, that got me. Out of all the movies this summer, this movie got me to where I was like, oh my god, it had me like, oh. But as for like the kills in this movie, they're kind of weak. Like, there is a scene in the movie where there's a bathroom they've been showing in the trailers over and over again, to where they showed everything in the trailer, to where I was like, okay, all right. Like it felt like the trailer gave away all the kills in the movie, and the only thing you don't really like see in the movie is like, okay, Tony Todd. But you hear his voice, and you and then when you see Tony Todd, which, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie yet, Tony Todd's in the movie for one scene. You know, he only has one scene, and it's really one line that says, "Tell everyone." And like, because at the end, Daniel dies. At the end, Daniel, Yaya's character dies, and he becomes Daniel, the Candyman, Tony Todd's character. And you see, which it is motion capture on his face to make himself look younger. They de-aged Tony Todd, and then he's covered in CGIBs, and he says to Tatiana Parrish, he tells her, "Tell everyone." And the scene, got me excited. But the only thing is, that was the last scene of the movie, and I kind of was hoping he would at least come in the third act, but. And because the only thing I really had an issue with was, like, you don't see Tony, like, Candyman, almost as like a POV kind of killer, because you only see him, it's like the invisible killer. Like, every time you see him kill somebody, it's just like, oh, you can see him, like, quick second, blink and you miss it through a mirror, and you'll see just like a person die, like, invisibly, and I just kind of feel like, oh, come on, like, at least the other Candyman, he made his presence known more. And that's the only thing I had an issue with. Is like, I understand they focus more on the social message than they did the slasher aspect, but I feel like, come on, if they would just took a little bit more time on the slasher aspect, they could have had it where you could have your cake and eat it too. Instead, they felt like they just had the cake, but they didn't feel like they were eating it much. And I was just like, because it's still, at the end of the day, a slasher movie, But I will say this movie does have really great acting. I did not expect Coleman Domingo's character to be like the villain at the end of the movie, like the human villain. And I was thinking about this because on The Walking Dead, he's kind of like an antagonist in that show. Not Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. But when I saw him in this movie, when he was talking about the old Candyman factory and all this stuff, because at the beginning of the movie, there was a little kid in the 70s who is like, bringing candy to... He's bringing his groceries, and he runs across, there's a Candyman, guy known as the Candyman, who goes around, has a hook for a hand, and he goes around giving children candy. This is like the 70s. And what happened is one kid got a razor blade in their candy, and so the police are looking for him. His name was Sherman, I think. And so, not Sherman from Nutty Professor. I was thinking when I said Sherman, I'm thinking, Sherman! Eddie Murphy from the Nutty Professor. Every time I hear the name Sherman, I always think of that. That or Peabody and Sherman. But yeah, his name is Sherman, and so they go, and the police are looking for him and everything. And this is the scene that kind of made me chuckle, okay? It kind of made me chuckle, because the kid, he comes through, like, the hole that Tony Todd's Candyman was hiding in a way. Like, he comes through, and he's just, like, doing this, like, he's like... like, he doesn't speak at all. Like, he's just like this. And I'm like, I can see why that people suspect you. Like, literally, I'm like, imagine if I'm bringing you something, if I'm wanted for a crime I didn't commit, and I bring you something, and I'm just like this. You would think I am the victim? Like, yeah, that's the bad guy, all right. That is literally the bad guy. And I'm just like, of course people are going to think you're the bad guy. I think you're the bad guy right now, and I don't even know you. But I'm sure you're innocent because it's the movie. It would be shocking if it was like a reverse, like, oh, actually, he was the bad guy. But yeah, I was like, of course I said, you're probably going to get shot, dude. I'm sorry. You're probably going to get killed by police because, you could say, hey, kid, you want some candy? But I understand it's a movie, and you got to kind of build some suspense to make them think. Like, you got to make some people in the audience actually think. Even though we all know, we as a general audience know that that's not the bad guy. But, you know, you just got to get that, like, the 2%ers that are like, he might be the bad guy. Although, I was kind of questioning, going, well, he is making a creepy-ass freaking face, and he's just like, I just thought about, imagine, man, just imagine, okay, if you're watching a movie, and someone just, like, if Nicolas Cage is at a party, and he brings you some appetizer, he's like, you know, I'm like, I would not want that. I was telling my cousin about that. I was telling her, I was like, you know, that is like the funniest moment. It's unintentionally funny because I'm sitting there laughing because, like, who does that? No one does that. But I was thinking, he is probably going to get shot now. I'm sorry. But he's probably going to get his ass beat now. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't hope that doesn't happen. But, I mean, can you blame him? I mean, the dude literally is coming out of childhood candy, and he's literally in a creepy-ass face. I mean, I'm not saying I was rooting for that. I was just saying that happened. And I'm just thinking, I was like, you know, a simple, hey kid, you want some candy? Would have probably solved everything in that scene. But, or, hey, here's some candy. You know? Anything that besides, like, just like, but yeah, that is, the movie itself, like, there is a lot of funny moments in the movie. Like, you're like anytime, like, someone's saying Candyman in the mirror, they're like, oh, black people don't do this. And, like, only really white people that do it in the movie. Like, there is, like, really no, besides one or two people that are African American, there is really, it's all like, you know, white people that die in this movie. Which I'm just like, yeah, I believe it. I mean, because we're all stupid in this movie. Like, you know, like just like the Eddie Murphy joke and the what's it called, the Amityville Horror. If you ever watched on the YouTube, Eddie Murphy was like, stand up, he goes, black people don't go in horror films. You know, we get the fuck out of there. You know, he says, there's a joke, Eddie Murphy, that I'm probably just going to butcher, but Eddie Murphy was saying, like, you know, he said, we don't go in there. He says, like, white people, they stay in there, they make comfort and everything, you know, but if, like, black people were like, oh, look at this, honey, look at this. Get out. But too bad we can't stay here. Move, bitch, let's go. Like, but that's what I love. But I was like, I believe it. Like, this movie basically shows you, like, so they're like, this is not that type of movie where, like, they make really smart decisions. Like, you know, like, white people just suck in this movie. I was thinking every white person has made a bad decision. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie for what it is, and it's a really good movie that deals a lot of great commentary on life, and it's sad the way that shows you real life events, and it makes me sad to my heart, and I'm so sorry. But as a movie, I think it is a solid movie that I urge you all to watch at least once, just to see it. And just as an art house movie, it works. As a slash movie, I'm kind of bummed, but it's still a great movie. I'm going to give this movie a B-. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to have my review. I'm doing a 31 days of Halloween movie lineups. This was the first. Tomorrow I'm going to have another movie. Can't wait for you to see. Thank you so much. If you can just give this video a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And just fall down.
Candyman!